So I was already working. I had my little working shop in the same building, but in a bigger apartment where I was hiding. And I was already working, and suddenly a boy from the house where he used to live comes over and said, "Polly is here." I said, "No, just come and see." So I was running over the street, and the heel of my shoe broke down, so I was limping over, and there was Polly. I can't tell you the way he looked. I wanted to hug him. "No, don't touch me, I'm full with lice." So I didn't want me to touch him. So he was in a terrible shape. He was so skinny, but he was smiling. And now what to do? His mother, was not at this house where then they used to go back to the old apartment. He was in the apartment of her sister. So
the mother of Peter Medak.
The mother
who
of
was
Peter
her
Medak.
sister.
So with Polly, I went over.
First,
to
he
this
went to a
place.
delousing station. He told me that.
Yes, they
he went to a delousing station. And first he had
gas or with some fumes.
deloused.
But even then, we went over to Mother's house, and all his clothes we were burning in the bathtub. In the bathtub, no,
in
not
the
bathtub.
bathtub.
The bathtub, sure. And there he was without any clothes.
So Polly was there without clothes.
They had nothing to offer. So the boy of them, he offered a pair of pants, which fitted Polly only until the ankles, but didn't matter.
He was shorter.
At least he had pants. And then he gave a shirt, probably. And
somebody gave a shirt,
Alice
somebody gave some kind of jacket.
A little jacket for him. And so we dressed him up. Really
next day he went to the flea market
shoes.
to buy shoes.
He only had this terrible boots he was in, but one side of the boot was already open, so his toes were hanging out. So what to do? Nobody else whom I knew had his shoe size that I could ask.
Make it shorter.
So he went to the
flea market,
and there he found a pair of shoes which fitted him.
So to continue that story, that a friend of mine had, as I said, she put a notice in the paper that she can give information about, that she listed the names of the girls, and by that time Polly was at home, and Polly and Agi read it, and they went to see her, and when she opened the door.
So I was already working very hard, but Polly had to be fed, and food had to be bought somewhere. So I tried to cook him and feed him. This was fun.
But
really.
Agi, we are talking about Hedda.
Okay. And then when this ad appeared in the newspaper, we went visiting this lady, and she told us about Dushi. And she told us that she is there, and she didn't come home because Eva was in hospital. Eva was very weak, and Dushi was sitting on her side and feeding her, and she said she couldn't come home without Eva. So Eva has to be strong, and so this is what she did for Eva, first time in her life. And then there were many other times.
By that time I did a lot.
And so we knew now that they were there. We tried to contact them, but there was no way.
There was a way. They wrote letters because there was an address. We wrote letters.
So there was no way. They didn't get our letters. We didn't get their letters.
Nobody knows.
Then finally, summer went by. It was a very nice summer. We went with Polly and with an old friend of mine who became Robert's pediatrician, Dr. Barta, and was friend until the end of his life. And the three of us went out to the to nice places to enjoy the summer. Now we knew that she's alive and she will come home. So, and then.
But I didn't come home.
Summer was over.
We were liberated in Sachsenhausen. Sachsenhausen was a big concentration camp, and when Eva recovered after a few months, then we were moved to other camps, which was called displaced person DP camps, displaced person camps, because they intended to send us home to Hungary. But it went very slowly. We were sent from one camp to the other, and one camp to the other, until we finally, in mid-October, arrived to a place called Oranienburg, which is outside of Berlin, and that's when we finally got again into a cattle car, but not 50 of us, but only 12 of us, and we had a nice straw sacks to lie on, and that's how we started our journey back home to Hungary. In the meantime.
So in the meantime, summer passed and they didn't come. And then one day, Polly told to me, what would you think if I would go to Germany and find them? And I, crazy as I was,
excuse me, but he was so sure that we are in Sachsenhausen, so he had a fixed address.
I told him, just go. It wasn't so easy to travel because you had to have all kinds of documents, travel allowance and money. You went through different countries. You only could go to Czechoslovakia and so to Germany. It wasn't so easy, but he ventured and he went. And he went through some kind of adventures until I arrived in Sachsenhausen. And it was night when he arrived, and somehow he found a bouquet of flowers. And he went there. It was at night, and he saw a place which was very light, illuminated, and he went there. It was the police station. And he told them why he came, and he said, yes, there is now a concentration camp, but it's for the SS people, for the war criminals. And this transport, which was here, the women, they are on their way, they took them to Oranienburg, and probably you can trace them there in Oranienburg. So it was night. They invited Polly to sleep there at the police station at night. And because he was such a nice looking guy, blonde, blue eyes, like a German type. So next morning he went to Oranienburg, and there was a clue of them. They told them where they went next. So he went to the next station. I don't know how he traveled, by train or walking.
It was a lot of
so he went from one place to the other, and they always told him, yes, they were here, but they went now they are on their way. So they are on their way. It was over. There were 2 weeks he was
out of cigarettes.
In
that
Germany,
was his only currency he had.
And then he said, now I have to return. There is no way. And then he went on a train.
No, he went first to Berlin. He went to Berlin, he went to the Red Cross, he went to different Jewish organizations where they all promised him that they will trace us, but he should go home, because and that's how he finally got on a train.
And he
but the train only ran until a city called Bratislava, which was in Czechoslovakia. At that point now it's the capital of Slovakia, and the Czechs hated the Hungarians because they were on the other side of the war, the Czechs. So he had no money, he had no cigarettes, he had to get off the train. He didn't dare to open his mouth because he was afraid that they take him to the nearest police station. And then he saw a guy, a stationary train, and he saw a guy in Hungarian uniform. So he went to him and asked him, "What are you doing here?" "So we are prisoners of war. We are on our way back to Hungary." And then he had an inspiration and asked, "Are there no women on this train?" And the answer was yes, there is a car which has women. So he took Polly to the commander of the train. They were Russians, and they looked at the list, and there was Eva and there was I. And it was 7 o'clock in the morning when the door opened, and the guy calls me Mrs. Lemberger. At that time I was called Lemberger. He changed his name. We changed our name only later to later. "Your husband wants to see you." And I thought the guy is crazy. And that was Polly. And the Russian commander was so impressed by this coincidence that he took Polly on his list, so he had no more problems coming home. So this is how we arrived together on November 7th, 1945 in Budapest, to stay together forever.
Mm.